already, please smash the like and subscribe. Also, join the Patreon. It's just $3 a month. We've got plenty of advice on trades, the upcoming draft, as well as roster reviews. Plenty of stuff going on over there, and we are happy to help you out in that regards. NFL draft is now just 16 days away from us. Very exciting times. This is one of the best times of the year for Dynasty Fantasy Football, and we are more than happy to help you out in the Dynasty space. So smash that like and subscribe. We just got over 100 subscribers. Happy to have you all aboard here in the Bird House, and let's get right to it. So when we're talking wide receivers in general, in Dynasty, they can be the definite cornerstone of your franchise. And we all know that in Superflex leagues, quarterbacks play a huge role in that as well. But truly, the wide receiver room is where you need to build your depth so that you have a full set of good starters that you can enter in weekly into your lineup, into the flex positions. And so when it comes to wide receivers and the hopium we have, a lot of it is developed through the draft. And of course, who we draft in the first, second, and third rounds of our rookie drafts are the guys we want to hit. Now, when it comes to the offseason and we have last season's rookies and how well they performed, how can we use that information of what they did last season to predict future success, as in whether we should be hanging on to these receivers or trying to flip them for veterans or trying to re-roll them into a current rookie pick, a 2025 pick, or maybe just a future 26 or 27 rookie pick. So I found an article from Brainy Ballers just the other day, and I want to go into it. It's basing it off the 525-yard rookie season theory. And the theory had been that the threshold for rookie wide receivers was 525 yards. They hit 525 yards, you keep them. If they don't hit 525 yards, you dump them, right? Now, looking into this article, they've come to the conclusion that the threshold should actually be 701 yards. And so I'm going to bring this article up for you so you can see. All right, let's do it. It's right here. Okay. That isn't the right article, but we're going to find it here. 1 second. There we go. All right. Now, looking at this, they were basing it off of the 2023 rookies, but this was a huge sample size that they used. They had gone back to the 2003 season, so they had over 20 years of data to study this, and they went, as you can see, they went very well in depth here. I'm not going to read this article to you. You can go ahead and do that yourself. Check it out on Brainy Ballers. But the long drawn out message from this was that 700 yards should actually be the threshold, 701, I guess, to be technical. And when a receiver hits 701 yards or above in their rookie season, they are likely to be a success around 67% of the time. That means 2 out of 3 rookie receivers that hit 701 yards are likely to succeed. And what they defined success as was 2,000-yard seasons. So I'm not talking elite. They don't have to finish, top 10 ever, but 1,000-yard seasons generally correlate to startable wide receivers in our dynasty rosters, correct? So if your receiver hits 701 yards in their rookie season, they have a 67% chance of being a success. Now, when they dropped the threshold down to the 525-yard threshold, which had been thought of it, the rate dropped significantly. It went down to just under 50% of the time they actually become a success. That's at the 525-yard threshold. Now, if your receivers don't even get to that 525-yard threshold, you are basically hanging on to a complete dart throw. Even worse, just you're praying, all right? You are praying that this guy could be a success. So what I'm getting at and what I want to get into today is some of the rookie wide receivers from our 2024 class and what we should now be expecting from them and what we can do with that expectation in our leagues with those players. So let's go ahead and bring up the 2024 class and their wide receiver and their receiving yardage totals. Ugh. All right. So, of course, you have Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. We know they smashed. We know they're elite dynasty assets now, and you would want an absolute haul if you were to trade them, right? After that, you have Ladd McConkey in there at 1149. Very solid season. A lot of people going after him right now. Personally, I feel this may have been his ceiling, but I don't blame you if you feel otherwise. That's just the way I'm looking at him. I'm on the fence with Ladd, not one way or the other. It kind of depends, too, if the Chargers end up drafting another better wide receiver in round 1 or 2 that could complement Ladd, but also limit his ceiling. After that, we have Marv and Rome Odunze. And so Marv, of course, was disappointing to many of his fantasy owners last season. Expecting numbers basically that we got out of Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors. However, Marv only got 885 yards. Now, 885 yards isn't terrible according to this model, right? 885 yards is actually quite similar to what his father produced in his rookie season, and we all know the Hall of Fame season that he put up. So 885 yards is more than above the 701-yard threshold. I would not be worried about Marvin Harrison at all if you're looking to, trade up straight across for like A.J. Brown or just use a package to try and attain Marvin Harrison right now. Now is the time to do it before he busts out for even bigger things in his second season. Rome Odunze, right below him, he also met the threshold, 735 yards and 734 technically. And Rome is a guy who I am still big on. I have him in a few leagues. I wouldn't mind going out and acquiring him, as I see him as a better prospect than just about every wide receiver in this year's draft class. I guess Ted McMillan, you could probably put them about even, but that goes to show where you see I feel about Rome Odunze. And he did hit that threshold, the 701-yard threshold. So basically he has a 67% chance of having success in the NFL. Now, Xavier Worthy, 638 yards, did not meet the threshold of 701 yards, but is above the 525-yard threshold, as is Keon Coleman just below him there. So I put them kind of in the same bucket. Both of them have elite quarterbacks with them in Mahomes and Josh Allen slinging them the ball. So I am not out on either of them, but if you wanted to trade them for the hype of their decent rookie seasons, I wouldn't be against it. Now is where it gets interesting. We move further down the list here. And let me do this here. Okay, now we slide further down the list and we see the not so successful wide receivers from last year's rookie class, right? Starts off right up here with Xavier Legette. Xavier Legette is someone who many fell in love with last rookie draft season with his charisma and press rooms, and he was looked at as sort of a Deebo Samuel type comp he got, and he was a very strong, big, athletic wide receiver. The Carolina Panthers needed wide receivers. It was looking like a match made in heaven. You had Dave Canales coming in with his innovative offense. You thought he'd get a ton of ways to get the ball, and all it materialized into was a 497-yard season. You can see there he played all 16 games, so there's no excuses. Not all, but 16 out of 17 games, so there's no excuses there. Xavier Legette just fell below the threshold, and so he is somebody that I am looking to go out and sell. Ricky Pearsall now is next, and he only played 11 games. Of course, Pearsall was the unfortunate victim of a gunshot wound before the season even started, and so he missed 6 games because of that. So if you want to give Pearsall a flyer into this next season, I don't hate it. His 400 yards could correlate to, say, 600 yards over the course of a full season. Still below the 700-yard threshold, but above the 525-yard threshold. So I'd say Pearsall could fall into the 50-50 category. Under him, though, then you have Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell, complete disaster rookie season. Did not mesh well with Anthony Richardson or Joe Flacco when he was in there. And so Mitchell just looks like somebody who was very athletic, but cannot catch the ball or run routes. And 312 yards your rookie season, all 17 games. Like, Alec Pierce was outplaying him, and that's not something we wanted to see. Alec Pierce was a great blocker, so of course that's why he was mainly on the field, but he still outproduced him. And so AD Mitchell is the poster boy for this, in that there are people out there who see second-year wide receivers and still are clinging to the hope of what we drafted them for last offseason. Same goes with Jalen Polk. You could even throw Javon Baker in there, who I fell complete victim to. I love Javon Baker, ended up with him on way too many of my rosters, and fortunately I was able to get off of him on most of those. But I think he's still lingering there on a couple of my rosters, and I need to get out on him. Now, the trick comes, what do you do if you got one of these guys? I'm talking Legette, Pearsall, maybe not Pearsall again. Let's say Legette, Mitchell, and Polk specifically, right? How do you find somebody that actually wants to buy into these guys? Well, we know that pretty much all of these guys were drafted right in the second round of our rookie drafts last season. So you could start there, try and get a 25 second rounder, whether it's the 201 or 212, I don't care. You're getting another dart throw at a similarly talented wide receiver, at least similarly scouted talent level receiver. And you can take your shot on Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins or Alec Ayumenor, any of those guys that you like, whichever one you feel is higher. Personally, of those three, I would say Jalen Noel. But if you like Jaden Higgins or Ayumenor, they're a little bigger of a wide receiver for that kind of potential. I don't blame you. That's fine. But as the data shows, you're better off re-rolling on one of those guys and hoping that one of them gets to that nice 701-yard threshold than hoping that one of these guys is all of a sudden going to turn it around and blow up in their second season. Now, there's also a few other receivers who popped last season, and I like to put these guys in the Dontavian Wicks category. These guys sort of came out of nowhere, got a lot of hype, did decent their rookie seasons, but still fell below this threshold, even the 525-yard threshold. These guys I'm talking about are the ones who you hang on to on the bottom of your roster, hoping that they're going to end up being something. Meanwhile, there's running backs sitting on waivers that you could pick up and start any given week based on an injury occurring. So that's where we're talking about roster cloggers, and these guys are the prototype for that. Let me show you on the screen here. I've got a couple of them ready to go, and we'll start that off with Jalen Polk. Now, I already spoke on him and his struggles his rookie season. Just to show you how bad it was, here's his totals. Yes. He had just 33 targets, 12 receptions, and 87 yards. So you can see only 12 catches on 33 targets is an awful rate. 87 yards for a second-round wide receiver, I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it. If somebody wants him in your league, be more than happy to get just about anything for him at this point. Next up, though, Jalen Poker, and he fits the Dontavian Wicks model perfectly. Dontavian Wicks was a rookie for the Packers in 2023, and he had a decent season. He looked like a good route runner. He filled in nicely when Christian Watson inevitably got injured, as he does every season. And Wicks was looked at as somebody who could actually be potentially the Packers' #1 wide receiver. But last year, in spite of having plenty of opportunities with injuries to Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, he wasn't able to even outproduce Jaden Reed or come close. And that's what I see happening here with Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker last season showed some promise, 46 targets, 32 catches, 478 yards, and a couple touchdowns there. But Coker is on a team here where they took him in like the 7th round. They have the aging Adam Thielen, who far and away outproduced Jalen Coker. That should say something. Then you also have Xavier Legette there, and you potentially have 1 or 2 rookie wide receivers that the Panthers could take this season. Tet McMillan is live at pick 8 for the Panthers. Any number of wide receivers in the 2nd or 3rd round could easily be taken and come into camp as a more talented player than Jalen Coker. Yes, Coker had his fan base there, the Cokeheads, and a lot of people saw him as a deep sleeper going into last year's draft. But the fact remains, the guy's still a 7th round pick. And so, I mean, you draft somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round, they're coming in to the building with more talent than Jalen Coker has to offer. And so that's why I'm saying if you can get like a late second for Jalen Coker right now, even a 3rd, or use him as a piece to get a trade pushed over the table, by all means, get out there and do that move. Next up, Bubba Means. And Bub Means was another guy who had late draft hype and was looked at as somebody who could pop. And he did pop there for 1 or 2 games. But all in all, I mean, the guy ended up playing in 15 games and ended up, or no, not 15 games. He ended up with 15 targets for the season. He played in 7 games. All right. So that's 2 targets a week. All right. Not even just barely over a catch a game. I mean, yeah, I saw a little promise there. He's a nice size, 6'2", 215, but again, well below the threshold, even the 525-yard threshold. So Bub Means is somebody who, if you can throw into any deal or re-roll with a 3rd or 4th round pick, by all means, go for it. Here's Ricky Pearsall. Again, just wanted to show you the detailed numbers. In 11 games, 46 targets, just 31 catches on those for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, though, he missed 6 games because of a bullet wound. I'm willing to give Pearsall a first-round pick, no doubt, along with the trade of Deebo Samuel. I'm willing to give Pearsall a little bit of slack here. And so if you're owning Pearsall, I don't mind if you want to hang on to him, but at the same time, he's been getting hype, especially since Deebo was traded. So I would have no problem unloading Pearsall for at value right now. If you can somehow squeeze a late first out of someone for Pearsall plus a third or plus a late second, if you can move into the back end of the first, I'm all about that. If you can throw in Pearsall into a deal, I've seen people use Pearsall and 2 firsts to get one of the like elite type receivers like Nico Collins. Just nuts to me, because Pearsall, though he has the talent there, he didn't have monster production last season, even with Brandon Ayuk getting knocked out for the season with a torn ACL. So Pearsall had his opportunity once he got back. It's just that, with the bullet shot, he was missing out on prime opportunity that first month and a half of the season to get to know Brock Purdy. And so now they do have this offseason to do that. So again, Pearsall's one who, yes, missed the threshold, but I'm willing to give a little slack to. Now here's A.D. Mitchell. Again, rough season stats-wise. He played in every single game here. And so for him to only end up the season with, 55 targets, just 23 catches on those targets for 312 yards, no touchdowns. I mean, that is not what we were looking for out of A.D. Mitchell, especially with all the camp highlights, him catching long bombs from Anthony Richardson. Like, this was just not, 112th at wide receiver. Dude, if you can get anything for A.D. Mitchell now, and you still can, there are people out there who saw the film from Texas, the hype. He's athletic. People like him. Go ahead and get what you can for A.D. Mitchell right now. Okay? Now, what are we doing with these guys? So I owned Xavier Legette in one of my leagues. It was the Birdhouse number 2 league, which was a 12-team best ball, start 12, Superflex, half-point tight end premium league. And yesterday, one of my league mates, the champ, in fact, from last year, put Stefon Diggs out on the block. And so Stefon Diggs is somebody who I haven't been extremely high on since he left Buffalo. I did like the opportunity potentially in Houston for him, but I wasn't completely sold on him. So anyway, he put Diggs out on the block, and now he's signed with New England. He's New England's number 1, barring Tet McMillan getting drafted there at number 4. Any other receiver gets drafted there. I think Diggs is the bona fide one this coming year for Drake May, which means possibly 5 to 8 targets a week for this dude. And so I have no problem going out and trading for Stefon Diggs, and that's what I went ahead and did. And you can see here is the deal. So I went ahead and gave up Xavier Legette, Isaiah Davis, 2 4/4 for Stefon Diggs and Isaac Guerendo. And so Guerendo is somebody who I like as well. Jordan Mason's now shipped out of town, so Guerendo is the de facto number 2, right behind the very oft injured CMC. And Guerendo popped pretty well in those games that he played last year, so I like his opportunity. And if all I had to give up was Xavier Legette, I initially had Sean Tucker in this offer that I sent to him initially, but he switched it to Isaiah Davis. Fine, no big deal there. Sean Tucker, Isaiah Davis. But Stephon Diggs is the piece here in a best ball where, like, if I get 4 or 5 starts out of him this week, meaning, over 10 points in 4 or 5 games this year, I think that's going to happen. Xavier Legette, I don't know if he puts up half the numbers Stephon Diggs this year. So, again, this is one where, and I get the other guy's side of it. He had Stephon Diggs last year. He was injured. Maybe he doesn't want to wait on Diggs or whatever, and he wants to get younger. I don't know. I personally, if I was him, I would have been looking for a second rounder instead of Stephon Diggs, or instead of Xavier Legette. I would have tried to get a second rounder. That's how I would have looked to get out of Stephon Diggs if I wanted to. So I'm more than happy with this deal, and this is the type of deal you can make if you're going out and somebody in your league puts Devontae Adams out on the block or Chris Godwin. All right, Adams is getting older. We now know he is with the Rams, so there's Puka Nacua there, obviously, but I think Devontae's got at least one good season left in him, and that's all you need in a deal like this to come out ahead. If you get one good, decent season out of a veteran wide receiver at this point, you could throw Calvin Ridley into the mix here as well. Those are the types of wide receivers that I would be going out trying to acquire because they're going to get you anywhere from 4 to 8 starts over the course of the season. If it's a lineup league, that's best ball. In the lineup league, there's somebody who you can definitely plug in as your last flex player weekly because they're going to pop every other week. You don't know which week it is, but if you have them in your lineup every week, you're going to capture that war that happens when they do get over 10 points and get into double digits, when they have that 20-point game. You're going to get that. Now, if you have them as your top wide receiver off the bench, that's fine. They're going to get into your lineup eventually at some point in the season with buys and injuries occurring. So they're going to play a decent role on your team. They might be your 6th wide receiver or 7th wide receiver, but injuries happen. And your stars, all of them, aren't going to stay healthy the whole season. You may have a lineup stacked with Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Brian Thomas, but they're not all going to play all 17 games. All right, it's football. Injuries happen. That's what you need to prepare for, and that's how you have a solid stacked wide receiver room. You build it up with those good elite players up top. Get as many top 10 wide receivers as possible, and then backfill it on the backside with a few solid veterans like Evans or Godwin or Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs, right? Guys you can get on the cheap. Cooper Kupp comes into that mix. Amari Cooper hasn't signed yet, but I think he still has something left in the tank, and wherever he goes, he could be that guy. Deebo Samuel probably will have a few weeks this year where he pops, okay? Just because they're done, just because they're old doesn't mean they're done necessarily. I mean, look at Terry McLaurin last season. I wasn't expecting that, and many of his owners, I'm sure, weren't expecting that either. So I'm telling you now, second-year wide receivers who didn't hit the thresholds, whether it's a 701-yard threshold or even just the 525-yard threshold, this is the way to get out of them and get something at least for them that helps you to win championships, because that's what we're all about here. That's what we're all about in the Birdhouse on our Patreon. Check it out. Again, just $3 a month. You can get into the community. We'll start chatting, talking about trades. We can do a roster review for you. Please check us out later this week. We'll be doing a full Dynasty trade show. And next week, we've got the guys from DD Fantasy Shane Manila and JB coming in to do a mock draft with me. Should be tons of fun as we gear up here for the 2025 NFL Draft, just 16 days away. So exciting. All right. So thanks again for joining the Birdhouse today. And remember, never stop working.